for Franklin's return. If you've seen Franklin, call 574-387-0356. That's 574-387-0356. We also have a found Springer Spaniel in the Union Mills area. If you're missing your Springer Spaniel in the Union Mills area, call 219-363-3460. They have your dog. That number again, 219-363-3460. And if your pet runs off or you find somebody else's lost pet, call 219-362-6144 to report that lost or found pet for the next Pet Patrol. Pet Patrol airs throughout the day, Monday through Friday, as part of your update news, and it doesn't cost a dime. That number for Pet Patrol, 219-362-6144.
On air at 96.7 FM. Online at hometownnewsnow.com. This is your number one source of news and information in LaPorte County. 96.7 The Eagle. Welcome to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle, LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. For the next 30 minutes, we invite you to be part of the conversation by calling 219-362-0522. And you can now text your questions to the Liquor Vault on-air line or by email to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the host or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media LLC, or the sponsors. The Liquor Vault on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. This is Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Sound Off today on Monday, August 15th. It is a beautiful day in LaPorte County. If you've not been outside yet, or if you haven't really got to enjoy the weather yet, just spend 5 minutes if you can. Go outside. It is beautiful. Who knows how many, in Northwest Indiana, it could be snowing tomorrow. You just never know. So enjoy these nice days. Fall is coming. My favorite time of the year, Indiana, Northwest Indiana, fall, when it's not real humid, but it's warm enough to not have to wear a coat. It's right around the corner, so enjoy that. It's good to have you on the show today. Good to have you listening. We've got Sheila Matias, LaPorte County Commissioner, Commission President even, on the show. We're going to talk about what's happening in LaPorte County. If you have a question, the Liquor Vault on-air line is 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call me or text me. You can also email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com, and I'd be happy to read your question for you. Again, if you have a question, 219-362-0522. Welcome, Sheila. Glad to have you on the show. How are you?
Thanks. That was nice of you talking about the great weather, because today there's no humidity. It is so beautiful out there. It's everyone needs to get out and take a short walk, or
it is.
Let the feel of the sunshine on
it just puts you in a good mood, right?
That's right.
When you go outside and you realize, I know it's just mid-August. It's technically still summer, but the weather can turn here in no time. So
and vegetables. If you haven't had a LaPorte County tomato, they are so good this year. I've been really enjoying the produce.
Indeed. Well, it's good to have you on the show today. So, how has your summer been? You have a good summer?
Yeah, so far so good. We've got a lot of. I have a big family, as most everyone knows, and so we've had lots of grandchildren time outside playing and all those kinds of things. And then, of course, going to all the festivals. LaPorte County is famous for having lots to do during the summer. We have festivals and all kinds of activities. So I've been enjoying those with my family.
Indeed. So let's talk about what's happening with LaPorte County. Always lots of stuff going on. We had an article here on hometownnewsnow.com. Stan wrote an article, I think, or maybe Liam Hobbs did, about an officer here in LaPorte County Sheriff's Office, our department, that was leaving. His K-9 is also retiring, and he's going to the mill. Now, this is not new. This has been happening. This is also happening with our EMS, these kind of things. Police shortages, EMT shortages. Some of the municipalities are having fire, And the goal was then, okay, how do we raise enough funds to pay these employees better? In the article, it says that this officer, who's a veteran officer, is going to the steel mill, right? Mm-hmm. And so, reading that article, what happens? Because there was another article where Deputy Chief Ron Heeg talked about only 2 people applying for a position. So what happens if the public safety lit doesn't work? Because obviously it's not even in effect yet. You don't have the money, correct? So you haven't been able to increase wages maybe in the ways that you want fully. But this is bordering on a crisis, really, you know?
Yeah, it's a cultural crisis because it's not just happening in LaPorte County, it's and in our cities. It's happening across the country. Police work has become more dangerous. So if you know a police officer or have a police officer in your family, you know what I'm talking about. I have law enforcement in my family, and it's a dangerous job. It's more dangerous than ever. And of course, in Indiana, we have lots of guns, and sometimes that can create issues for our police officers, as we saw 2 recently were shot during a traffic stop. So it's a very dangerous career, and obviously needs to be, I'm a big believer that teachers and law enforcement and first responders, EMS, and our firefighters, they take their lives in their hands. For teachers, they're so dedicated, and they really are helping raise human beings. So, sometimes the people who are doing the most important jobs in our society are not compensated, nor are they honored as they should be. So I don't think you can talk only about throwing money at it, although money, obviously the officer who's leaving for the mills, he's trying to raise a family. I don't blame anyone, but every time anyone leaves the county or leaves a law enforcement agency, they're taking all those training dollars with them. And they're, so if they're going to Porter County Sheriff's Department, for example, because they're going to make $10,000 more, they're taking all of the investment we have put into them. Which
is thousands of dollars of training,
Thousands of dollars of training. And, I don't blame anyone for trying to take care of their family. And, that we're an upwardly mobile society. That's kind of how we're geared. You try to find a job and then a better job. So, but as a community, we need to really focus on that. And I think we're a little bit late to the game. To be frank, there are resources already in the coffers that could be used, but sometimes we get so caught up in all the minutia that we forget that these are humans and their lives. They put their lives on the line for us.
It's just a reminder to think, as you say, that this isn't just maybe even a financial thing, right? Certainly, the public safety lid is going to help fix that issue. Hopefully, at least it gives you an option to get money to help pay better,
which is super important.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to work, I'd prefer to get paid fairly.
Right.
And many people have left saying they're going to go to a job that they're making $20,000 more.
Right.
But there are these other things, and we've got 2 new sheriff candidates running and things like that, and it's going to be probably something they're going to have to struggle with. Not only, we had Sheriff John Boyd on the show not too long ago, and he said, before you get 30, 40, 50 people applying for a position or 2, and you get 2 now, and so, as a county commissioner, as somebody, again, not directly over the sheriff's department, but certainly has a role in that, I'm sure you guys are thinking about it as well.
We are thinking about it because it's money is an important feature, other benefits, but also being part of a county team where you're respected and you are honored for your work. A lot of people think, well, if they can't make it somewhere, they're going to work for government. And I have to tell you, one of the biggest and most wonderful treats for me has been to work with this group of county employees. They are so dedicated. They aren't doing it. I mean, they could earn more money in the private sector, and we need to not use that as an excuse. To me, if you are working, you should be paid a fair wage. And sometimes in government, you wait a long time to get a step increase. You wait a long time to get, a bonus or a raise. And these folks do services that people, if we didn't do them, you'd hear about it. When we do them smoothly, you often don't hear about it. So I have great respect and admiration for our county team.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a question we received kind of along the lines of this.
Okay.
And if you have a question, 219-362-0522, you can call or text me. Please ask, why is it the responsibility of LaPorte County taxpayers to now be a security company for Purdue Northwest nights and weekends? Can't they hire their own or put in systems, to be reimbursed? It seems like the department is already understaffed and underpaid.
So I don't know about security at P&W other than they have full-time employees. So if they're including that in their security detail, that's not anything that I'm.
Yeah, there was an article just on Hometown News
Okay,
Now.
so I didn't catch that yet.
So it says that the sheriff's department is down, and so it has increased our calls because they don't have the Purdue Northwest, and it says Jim Pressel and some others are trying to figure out a better solution.
Okay, so I'm not up on that issue.
Yeah,
yet.
no, it just broke,
Okay,
so it's
all right.
fine. And again, that state police actually often will cover some of that, and they're stretched
They're
thin
stretched,
is
yeah,
right.
yeah,
And
okay.
so I think it's left essentially a hole there.
Right.
But the challenge, I'm sure, for our LaPorte County Sheriff's Department is if no officers are out there
Right.
and there's a call, they do have to respond.
Yes,
it is in the
yes.
county, correct?
That's correct. So it's in Westville, and that is part of the county. A lot of the P&W officers that I have seen, because I work at Purdue during the day, and they are retired military or retired police officers. And so as that pool shrinks, and there's so many jobs available now. And, I do that LaPorte County Works program, and it focuses on a local company, not only to share what we're building, making, and serving in LaPorte County, but also to say, here's a good job. If you're looking for a job that's better than the one you have, look at this company. We have so many jobs that are really good jobs, people who will put training dollars into their new employees and offer them a upwardly mobile career pathway. And so you're weighting that against law enforcement and other government jobs that maybe don't have as great a career pathway forward.
And as you mentioned before, in any kind of municipal or governmental work, in the private sector, you can say, well, you know what, let's just up our wages $2 an hour or something like that. There's a process to increase wages in a county or a city government. The councils have to be involved, these kind of things.
Well, the council is the fiduciary arm. So the commission can say this is what we want you to spend the money on, but the council, that's they're the fiscal arm, and so if you're not happy with your wages, it's the council who sets the wages. And we work with them very closely. I have to say that our government wouldn't work well if we weren't communicating, but they are the ones that are making those hard calls. So when the new money comes in from the lid, it will be really important for us to sit down and kind of develop some real good strategies on how best to preserve the employees that we have and then be attractive to new employees in these critical jobs, because a safe community is in everyone's best interest.
As you said, every employer right now, unemployment is low. In the state, the county's a little higher, but in the state, it's down in the upper 2s, lower 3s. Right. And so everyone's trying to get employees right now. So I'm sure it is hard. All right, let's get to a caller. Hey, thanks so much for calling the show. You're on the air. What's your question for LaPorte County Commission President Sheila Matias?
Thank you, Mr. Matias, for coming on. This is Steve Hollifield.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. First, I'd like to make a statement and then ask my question.
Okay.
My statement will be that within 5 years, I predict LaPorte County will be at the maximum allowable state level of 3.5% for the lit tax, and yet there has been no talk that any of us have heard of any reduction in the size of our government yet. Now, my question: when you became commission president, your first statement was that you wanted to bring civility back to these meetings. Great, I understand that. Mm-hmm. But yet, I've been to meetings, people have watched meetings online, people go to the podium and they get out of line, which they should not get out of line. Public speaking, they should be allowed to air their grievances, but they should do it in a responsible, respectable manner. Mm-hmm. You will pound the gavel to stop them, but yet it notices that Brzezinski and Friedman get out of line and go on their tirades against people they don't like or things they don't like to hear, and yet nothing is done to them except occasionally afterwards you tell them they shouldn't speak like that. What are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. So, running those meetings is very challenging. You're managing an agenda, and you're managing lots of different personalities and people who have things to say. I honor, and in fact, when I got on the county commission, there was very limited public comment, and I insisted that we bring forward public comment as an essential part of our meetings. So I'm proud of that, but managing that as the president is not always easy. I have made some errors, and I'm going to be right up front with it. If I were looking at those meetings and I had time to think about it, when I wasn't on the spot, I would probably have managed some of those things that you raised differently. I didn't. And so I learned from that, and I'm hoping that I can continue to improve my skills in managing meetings that, as you know, Steve, are sometimes pretty raucous. I often get comments from people saying, hey, it's like you're a referee up there, Sheila. And, sometimes it takes a lot of skills and it takes a lot of poise, but I'm working on making sure that I allow civil discourse and respectful conversation.
All right, thanks so much for calling, Steve. I appreciate it, and I do have you on record with your 5-year thing. You have said this many times, so we're gonna come back to that in 5 years, you and me, buddy. All right. So we're gonna take our first break. If you are listening to the show today, we're so grateful for you. If you're listening to the podcast, good to have you as well. We've got Sheila Matias, LaPorte County Commissioner President on the show today. If you have a question, 219-362-0522. You can call me or text me or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. We're going to take our first break, but keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
For over 50 years, LaPorte has trusted Cannon's Automotive Service for prompt, efficient, same-day service. And that same Cannon's commitment extends to area businesses who rely on a fleet of one or many to take your goods or service to the customer. Whether it's the truck or trailer that needs maintained or fixed, trust Cannon's Automotive to maximize your productivity with same-day service. Now with 2 Cannon's locations, 710 Tyler Street and 909 Boyd Boulevard.
With Cannon's Automotive, we fix everything.
Stuck in a job that sucks? Here's another job opportunity from HometownNewsNow.com.
Howmet Aerospace is ramping up for a comeback in LaPorte with open interviews being held on August the 18th. They're seeking candidates for employment in a variety of production, maintenance, and welder positions. Open interviews will be held from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. and 2 to 4 p.m. Howmet Aerospace, where your career takes flight.
This has been a Jobs Spotlight Extra. Look under Hot Topics at HometownNewsNow.com for job details.
Say it with flavor as you get things poppin' this wedding season. Chicagoland Popcorn specializes in helping the bride and groom develop their theme, select flavors, and create a distinctive look for popcorn bars and flavors. It's budget-friendly and can be presented in eloquently prepared bags with satin ribbons and tags or displayed in rustic mason jars. The choices are endless. Enjoy the taste and aroma of unique gourmet popcorn at your next celebration or just because. Visit ChicagolandPopcorn.com for more details.
Michigan City Monuments is dedicated to helping you design a lasting tribute for your loved one. Designing a headstone for yourself or a loved one is an important decision to make. Michigan City Monuments is family-owned and has decades of experience. They also offer cleaning and restoration, final date cutting, and on-site lettering. Visit them Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or Saturday 10 a.m. to 2, located at the corner of Highway 20 and Johnson Road. Call 874-7414 for all your monument needs. Michigan City Monuments, 874-7414. It's back. Ticket Tuesdays are back on 96.7 The Eagle. Be listening every Tuesday during the Morning Mayhem with Joe and Dennis for your chance to win tickets to
Indiana Beach, or an overnight stay at any Red Roof Inn along with Shell gas cards.
So who doesn't like free stuff? Join Joe and Dennis on the Morning Mayhem every Tuesday between 6 and 9 a.m. for your chance to win during our Ticket Tuesday giveaway, brought to you by LaPorte Community Federal Credit Union and 96.7 The Eagle.
We're waiting to hear from you. Dial or text 362-0522 and let us know what you think. That's 362-0522. Back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends. Good to have you with us on today's show. Today is Monday, August 15th. And again, a reminder, go outside at some point. It is beautiful in LaPorte County. You just don't know how many days you get like that. So we've got Sheila Matias, LaPorte County Commission President, here in the studio. If you have a question, 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call or text me. Let's get to a caller. Hey, thanks so much for calling the show. Thanks for listening. What's your question for Commissioner President Sheila Matias?
Good evening.
Hey.
Or good afternoon.
Yeah, it is afternoon, but it's okay.
Yeah, well, I've been up early. Hey,
Yeah.
so the question is, have you heard of the VIPS program? And if so, do you have any thoughts on it, which is Volunteers in Police Service? It's I guess what I'm going to get at is a lot of times the first thing the government tends to do is jump to pay increases that's the answers to things. And I know, talking to several officers that I know personally, including the gentleman who left that we were discussing earlier, that had a lot to do with leadership issues within the department, both city and county. VIPS department, a VIPS program, which is in Cedar Lake, Kalamazoo, is a program where you have ex-military veterans and ex-police and firefighters who are involved in a program. They work for free, and they are financially taken care of by an outside source, which is already said they would give cars and money to these guys, and the mayor and other people have turned those programs down. Any thoughts on maybe utilizing those programs here like they do in Cedar Lake? Thank you.
Thanks so much for calling. And this interesting program you can find if you put VIPS Police in Google. You can find a lot of that VIPS information. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think that's a really positive suggestion, and I just wrote myself a note. I'm going to do some research on that. When I was mayor of Michigan City during the heavy snowy winters, we had a program similar where people who had four-wheel drive vehicles, had snowmobiles, etc. We called them the Iron Squadron, and they could volunteer to help the community during a winter storm event. They delivered medicine, they delivered diapers and formula, they delivered groceries and visited elderly people who were isolated, all as community volunteers. So I'm a big believer that you need to use the resources you have. So let me do some research. If you have more information, if you could please send it to me. My email address is smatias@laportecounty.org, and I'd be delighted to find out more about that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling again. Let's get to a question here through our text line. We've got Sheila and Matias on the show. Is there a county policy regarding using non-emergency county vehicles for personal non-company use, especially after consuming alcohol? Well, I'm going to guess after consuming alcohol for sure, but is there a policy there for non-emergency county vehicles for personal non-company use?
So we have a personnel policy manual that outlines all of that. So some elected are able to use, we pay for the use of, you pay a monthly stipend for use of the vehicle, so it covers that personal time. There's some state formula that comes out of the state Department of Finance on how that formula works. So I drive a county vehicle, and I am charged out of my paycheck for that use. But certainly doing anything stupid in a county vehicle or drinking, it's not right in any kind of vehicle. So obviously you're required to follow state laws. But that's there's more detail in the county employment manual, and I think you can find that online.
All right. We've got County Commissioner Sheila Matias with us on the show today. If you have a question, 219-362-0522, you can call me. You can also text me. Let's get to one more call here. Hey, thanks so much for calling. Thanks for waiting on the line. What's your question for Commissioner President Sheila Matias?
Yeah, Sheila made a comment that a lot of the officers are being trained and then they leave to go to another department for more money. Can you put in a policy where if they don't stay for so many years, then they have to pay back for that training?
Thanks so much for calling.
That's an interesting idea. I don't know. I suppose you could. I don't know that there would be a lot of support for that, because all of our departments train people, and so we would basically it would be indentured service. I'm not sure if one city did it and all the other cities didn't do it, people wouldn't come to that city or that county. They would just say, I'm not going to even. That's too punitive. We. Training for any job is expensive. When an employer trains you on computer programming or on, certain skills you need for your job, they're investing in you. And, the secret to balancing that is that they invest in you, but they also create with you a culture of care. And so, when one thing is off, when you're expecting too much from people and you're not training them or you're not paying them well, there's something off in that formula. So a good work environment is more than just pay. And that's been proven by the data. People want to earn a good paycheck, but they also want to go to a place where they're trained, they're treated respectfully, they have a good, challenging environment of colleagues that are respectful, civil, and fun. And so, the data, if you look at data about job satisfaction, it's not only throwing money at it. It's throwing, a culture of care so that people look forward to going to work. We spend a lot of our hours of our lives at work, and if you're going to a place where you absolutely despise everyone and you hate your environment,
or you don't feel valued,
or you don't feel valued, you feel put upon, even if you earn a good paycheck, that's a pretty bad quality of life you're having. And so I think our challenge as employers, whether we're government or private, is to create an environment where people are compensated fairly, but they also have a caring environment and an environment that is appreciative of their talents.
And I have asked, because this question has come up. It's a good question, and it has come up before. And I've asked the mayor. I've asked, I think I asked Sheriff Boyd. And the idea is kind of like what you said. The problem is if no other department does that, then nobody's going to want to apply for your department because that's their belief anyway. Because why would I commit to unless it's the salary is so absorbently above where everyone else is, you're paying twice as much. Yeah. Maybe you can get a contract there. But if you're roughly where everyone else is, I'll just go work somewhere else where there's not a contract where in that way.
Well, I think LaPorte County is blessed because we are a great employer. We also have a community all across our county. It's a huge county, but lots of really wonderful places to live. So we have a lot going for us that makes us an attractive employer. We just need to make sure that our financial rewards are parallel to others, because I think around being appreciated, people love our first responders. In our county, we respect our first responders, and our law enforcement are honored. Yep. And that's part of our culture. We just we need to make sure that we're competitive.
All right. If you have a question, the phone lines are open for Commission President Sheila Matias. Liquorville on our line is 219-362-0522. You can call me or text me. We'll get to some text questions here as well. But again, if you want to call 219-362-0522, if you're watching online through our Facebook feed, please do. You can put your questions in the comments there, and I'll get those as well. All right, a couple questions for you. So essentially, this question is about the bypass around LaPorte that the commission did not support. The LaPorte County government or the LaPorte City government has not been happy about that. Is there any bypass around LaPorte that you would potentially support?
That's an interesting question, because just this morning I wasn't at a meeting, but a meeting was held where they began to talk about what are some of the alternative ideas. Mm-hmm. I will be at the next meeting. Because we all are elected officials, you can't have too many elected in the same room to hear things. So, with the what do you call it? Open door laws? Open door laws. So, I know we have trucks in LaPorte, and I know there are businesses in LaPorte that really they need those non-local trucks to go somewhere else. I get that. My concern was the very large take of land, and it doesn't equal the problem, and the price tag doesn't equal the problem. So to me, we took a position as a commission saying, these proposals are not okay. And so how do we help our community grow in a sustainable, smart way and build our business community without it being hugely detrimental to a whole swath of families, and some who've lived on the same property for decades, and even some over 100 years. So more to come, but one of the issues to me is, if we're going to be talking about this, we need to have the community understand what we're talking about. And so more community meetings, more transparency. If we're going to talk about looking at maps and drawing ideas, and I want to hear from the community. The worst kind of politician is the one that's afraid to talk to people, and that drives me nuts, because these are the people you represent. So sitting down, everyone, when you speak to them, even when they feel passionate about an issue or they're completely against something that you think is a good idea, they are generally respectful, and you might not always have a meeting of the minds, but you at least can respectfully hear each other out.
All right, we've got LaPorte County Commission President Sheila Matias on the show today. If you have a question, 219-362-0522. You can call or text me. And if you have a question for Sheila, you can also put the question in the comments of our Facebook feed as well. Hey, a real quick correction here, which is really helpful. Thanks so much for texting this in. They said a policy essentially that would be a contract for our police is not allowed for state law like that.
Oh, okay.
So just
thank you for that help.
Yeah, you cannot put a policy like that in place by state law. So, all right.
They're talking about the training.
The essentially
Making them pay back
making
for
them
training,
pay back, these kind of things.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me.
I'm sure there's union contracts and stuff like that,
Yes.
but the way you form a contract, the way that you, more importantly, the way that you would penalize somebody for breaking a contract,
Yes.
I'm sure is got state laws that are guiding it and
Great,
stuff
thanks
like
for
that.
the help.
So we're going to take our next break, our final break of the day. If you have a question, again, 219-362-0522. Get those questions in, and we'd be happy to ask and talk about it here on the show. We're going to take a few-minute break, but we'll be right back here on 96.7 The Eagle.
Ben Conowitz here, owner of LaPorte Seamless Gutter. My parents started LaPorte Seamless Gutter in 1982 with one goal in mind, really. Our customers' 100% satisfaction. And we are still providing the same customer service that Tim and Seal Conowitz started all those years ago. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 219-362-9972, or you can visit us on the web, www.lpseamless.com. 219-362-9972.
Garwood, your UPIC headquarters is open. Check the Garwood Facebook page daily to see what's available. In the UPIC, peaches, red raspberries, tomatoes, bell peppers, pickles, hot and sweet peppers, apples, and more. In the Garwood Farm Market, Garwood sweet corn is at the lowest price of the season, $3.99 a dozen, $15 for a 4-dozen bag. Garwood peaches, UPIC or ready picked. The season is short, don't miss out. Eggplant, 2 for $1.49, and they're back. Garwood red raspberries, $5.95 a pint, 4 pints for $20. Garwood blueberry donuts in the bakery, $6.95 a dozen. Michigan sweet cherries, $4.99 a pound. Also $1 off per jar of Garwood apple sauces, including old-fashioned transparent, Honey Crisp, or Evercrisp apple sauces. Great to eat out of the jar or top off your pork chops with it. Parkman ground beef, 1-pound packages, $1 off this week. Garwood Farm Market and Bakery, open daily from 9 until 6. UPIC opens daily at 9, weather permitting. Check GarwoodOrchard.com, the Garwood Facebook page, or call Garwood for picking conditions and to find out what's available. Garwood's on 50 South Pass Pinola.
Surf Broadband Solutions is now Surf Internet. They have a new name, but are still serving LaPorte with the same fast fiber internet and local customer care team. Get 1 gig speed and a free whole home Wi-Fi router for the incredibly low price of $65 a month. No contracts and free installation. And a price that's locked for life. Surf Internet is expanding to more neighborhoods every day. So visit surfinternet.com to check your address or call 844-955-SURF for details. Limited time offer and summer restrictions apply.
LaPorte High School Slicer varsity football is on 96.7 The Eagle. The season starts this Friday as the Slicers travel to New Prairie to take on the Cougars. Slicer football proudly brought to you by Auto Body Specialties, MC Doors, O'Brien's Battery and Tire, All Star Autos, Raymond & Spence Insurance, Surf Internet, Back to Health Chiropractic, LaPorte Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Rosie Michaels of Coldwell Banker First Choice, and by Marsh Insurance Agency. Join Chip Jones and Steve Mattering this Friday night starting at 6:45 for Slicer football action on your radio home for Slicer Sports, 96.7 The Eagle.
Michiana weather.
More clouds than sun this afternoon with highs around 78. Winds out of the north, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows level off around 57 tonight. High of 80 tomorrow. From the Weather Center at HometownNewsNow.com. Right now, 74.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling or texting the Liquor Ball on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends, to our final segment of Sound Off. Good to have you on the show today. I always appreciate that you're listening. We've got LaPorte County Commission President Sheila Matias on the show. If you have a question, 219-362-0522. Again, that number's 219-362-0522. You can also email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. Here's a question for you. Politics is getting more mean-spirited. Can Mrs. Matias say something nice about her opponent?
Absolutely. So the person's right. Politics is there's a lot of uncivil politics. My opponent, Mrs. Grammarosa, is a family person. She has jumped into her activities in our community and really contributes. I know she's very involved out at the fair at Pioneerland and is very dedicated to that. Is a wonderful resource for our community. It's educational, it's fun for families, and she's really jumped in and done a lot for our community.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for that question. Let's get to a caller. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. Thanks for being here. What's your question for LaPorte County Commission President Sheila Matias?
Yes, I just was wondering, what's your take on the sand mining and Just what's your idea or what's your plan on going forward with this?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We got a lot of people that have been every meeting for the commission. So what are your thoughts on the sand mining? And
so I can't summarize my thoughts in the time we have left, but I will share that I have great empathy for the neighbors in a residential neighborhood who have been putting up with this. There are conflicting legal strategies around how to solve this issue. The county attorney has felt strongly, and the courts have supported that it's up to the residents. I have invested our county dollars in trying to intervene for both the sand mining on 1000 North and on the sand mining on off of Schultz Road. So it's an ongoing issue. It's not something that's going to be easily solved unless we head back to the courts, which is, there's some reticence on the part of the county to be taking up an issue like this again, because we've been to the courts and they had a pretty loud message that neighbors need to go to the courts themselves. And so it's complex. I'm the MS4 operator for the county, and there's permitting issues that we have. There are stop work orders on both sites because of stormwater issues, and so we're trying to investigate that strategy as a way to intervene.
All right. Well, thanks so much for calling. Let's get to another caller. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the show. Good to have you. What's your question for LaPorte County Commission President Sheila Matias?
Yes, this is Earl Cunningham calling.
Hey, Earl, how are you doing, buddy?
Hi, Earl.
Well, I just heard Commissioner Matias say that there's conflicting legal positions. Well, that's generally true. That's why lawyers get paid, because if there's no conflict, it's always a settlement. So I would throw this out to her on the police. I think as late as within the last year, Trail Creek has that exact policy. If you leave Trail Creek Police Department to go to another agency, they don't say you have to pay it. The agency that's hiring you can pay it. It's just like you're buying out the contract. So it doesn't necessarily have to come out of that employee's pocket. But if you've spent that kind of money on training and you just let other communities poach them away, then why are the highest paying communities ever going to train anybody? They just sit back and poach from the lower paying communities.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if it's not legal, that's why we have legislators, then we should make it legal, because it's foolish for us to be paying for the training. We're not talking about training like in an office. We send these people down to the academy for almost 6 months. And we're paying them while they're there, and we're spending a lot of money on their training. And if they're only here for 8 months or 10 months after they get back, we've not even recouped our investment, nowhere close to it. So I don't think you can do it for 10 years, but I think there has to be a reasonable period. I'd like for you to investigate that further.
Yeah, it'd be something to certainly investigate and talk to our law enforcement and our legislators about.
Earl and I were both teachers, and I as he was talking, I was thinking about all the other types of training. Teachers require a lot of training, ongoing continuing ed. Healthcare, same thing. Nurses, if you're a nurse, you're constantly having to, work on your licensure and getting continuing. So every profession has training, and if we go down this rabbit hole, it could be really scary, because teachers do leave one department with all their training, all their certificates, and they go to a department that's going to give them either more funding or a better career pathway forward. They're in a higher position. Same thing with I have a daughter who's a nurse. I mean, nurses and doctors and technicians in healthcare look for places where they are going to be well trained, they're in a good environment, and they're going to earn a decent living. So, that's kind of a slippery slope. I believe that we need to reimburse our law enforcement and first responders appropriately and competitively, and create an environment where they love their team, they love working in LaPorte County, and that's why they stay.
It's a question certainly we can put forward to the two candidates running for sheriff, Andy Heineck and Ron Haig as well. All right, let's get to another question. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show today. Good to have you. What's your question for LaPorte County Commission President Sheila Matias?
To go back to the sand mining thing, now I live nowhere near either of those places, but it still concerns me that, so there's two of them there, and there's no resolution to those two. So what happens if you have another one then, and then another one? So I don't agree with, it's up to the residents in that area, because I can't tell the neighbors what to do and what they can't do with their property, but the county commissioners and the zoning board can. That's what the rules are for. And I'm not understanding. I mean, it might be beyond my, knowledge to understand why we can't enforce the laws that we have or make stricter laws to stop that kind of stuff from going on. I don't understand why it's such a big battle that somebody can just start up a business and start doing it, and by the time you report them, they've already got their business established, so now we can't stop them. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So,
and if I'm in that neighborhood, I have no resolution but to come up with money I don't have.
Right.
So anyway, that's my question. Comment.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, you make a lot of sense. And so one of the solutions that we are pursuing is, how do we tighten up our zoning regulations? Still respecting people who live in the county want a certain amount of autonomy and freedom, and but they, how do we respectfully develop our businesses and our property in a way that is acknowledging that you have neighbors and they have investments in their property too. So you're not you're nailing the issue. The issue is very complicated on both sides of the fence, and so the businesses have their perspective, the neighbors have their perspective, each of the elected officials probably has their perspective, and there's lawyers that are involved, and Earl was right. The lawyers have opposite opinions on a lot of things, and so we're trying to negotiate, and sadly it takes longer than I would like. I like to solve problems ASAP.
All right, let's get to one more call before the end. Hey, thanks so much for calling the show. Thanks for listening today. What's your question for LaPorte County Commission President Sheila Matias?
Sheila, good to speak with you this afternoon. Nate, thank you very much. So with Purdue Extension, obviously, we don't have anybody in the position yet for 4-H extension educators.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to come to you and ask for assistance in paying the educators more, because when you look at what they're actually getting paid, it's a very tough decision.
Mm.
Obviously, the council has to approve the dollars.
Right.
Would you, as council or commission president, support an additional funding for that position?
That's a good question. I don't know who this is calling, but I appreciate you asking this. As you know, as some of you know, I'm a huge supporter of FFA and 4-H. So I would like to look at that salary and find out is that an issue and why we're not. We haven't filled that position yet, or has it been posted? It's the relationship between 4-H and Purdue Extension is kind of hard to follow sometimes, but we have recently signed a contract with them from the county, and if there are issues in finding the right person because it's pay related, then that's an issue that we need to examine. So I'm supportive. I believe that anytime you invest in programs for our young people, that is an investment that returns your dollars back to you tenfold.
All right, thanks so much for calling, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show, Commissioner Matthias. What's the final word? What do you want our listeners to know?
I'm really glad to talk to people. So that's anytime you see me, if you have something you want to talk about or you want to reach out by telephone or text or email, please feel free to do so. My number is 219-221-2375. Happy to chat with anyone. I'm running for election because I have talents and gifts that I've been given that have made me enjoy problem solving, enjoy working for my community, and really at this stage in my life there's a lot of other things I could do, but you know what, I love this community, and I feel that as long as I'm able to be effective and help make this community stronger and better for the people coming up behind us, then I'm hoping that the voters will give me another chance to do so. All
right, well, thanks so much for being on the show. I want to thank you so much for listening as well. We're going to be back on Friday. We've got I lied to poor Dennis Siddell, who mentioned this morning that Tom Dermody was on the show today. I got that mixed up. Tom Dermody's on the show on Friday, so I want to make a public apology, which if you listen to this show, is very painful for me to do. A public apology to Dennis Siddell, who, again, I loathe having to apologize for, but but Tom Dermody will be on Friday, and we got some good shows coming up for you next couple of weeks, and then on September we're going to start our election shows. And so if you want to know more about the candidates running that are going to be on your ballot, we'll be giving you all those episodes in September. So, nice. Hey, I want to thank you so much for listening. We'll be back on Friday. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Go enjoy the day. It's beautiful outside, and keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Thank you for joining us and voicing your opinion on this edition of Sound Off. The views on Sound Off are those of the host or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media LLC, or the sponsors. Sound Off airs every Monday and Friday at 12:30. Please mark your calendar and join us again for the next edition of Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle. Your home for country music variety is 96.